Hey traders, happy Thursday. Hope you guys had a great day. As always, everything in this presentation is for educational purposes only. All right, we'll kick off here with the spiders. The S&P ETF was up 1.28% today. Sounds like a nice move, $3.69, but if I zoom in here, despite the last two updates, nothing has changed. You guys are probably used to this box that I'm drawing. We're still in it. Or are we at the upper end of it? We are, but look at the 50-day. 50-day moving average in orange, that is the institutional moving average. We get above there, bulls can declare victory on the daily chart. Target is up here. If the bulls were able to get back above the 50-day, whether it be tomorrow, and remember the US markets are closed on Monday for Labor Day, so if they get above it, let's say tomorrow or Tuesday, they have their edge. But if they get back below it the following day or something, they've lost it. So, it's a finicky thing here, but we get above the 50-day, bulls get that edge. How about the DIA? Similar situation, up 1.35%. If I zoom in, nice gap up, close near the highs of the day. But guess what? We're still not above the 50-day. So this is still range bound. This is still a box. This is the flagpole, and this is the flag. How about if we take a look at the Qs? Q. Zoom in here. 1.53%, still not above the 50-day. It's like a broken record, but that's what we're waiting for. Right now, pretty much since, what is that low on August 5th? It's just in a big old box for almost the whole month. Now here is the Russell 2000. It did a little better today, up 1.75%, so better than the S&P. But if I zoom in, look at these lower highs. Look at the lower lows. If I bring this little channel in, you can sort of get the idea of what we're doing, right? We're still in a downtrending channel despite two nice little up days. We're clinging to this 145 area on a closing basis, which we opened below yesterday, and I commented about that in that night's video. Below 145, target's down here technically. If I zoom in here and we close a little higher, the target would be then the 50-day. It's only when it gets below the 50-day do the daily charts turn more bullish. Then you go back up to the previous high at 158. MDY up 1.54%. If I go ahead and zoom in, the 20-day is at 342.52. We closed at 50.50, 2 cents below. But even so, even if it did close a couple pennies above the red line, target is the orange. That's the real line we got to break here for the bulls. Otherwise, lower highs, lower lows. If I zoom out on your mid caps, target 330, and then goodness gracious, right, all the way down there. If we look at the transports, IYT, the corresponding ETF, they were up almost 2% today. Nice jump, little volume was decent, closed above the 20-day, yay. But guess what? There sits the 50-day. How about XLF, the banking ETF, up 1.5%, closed above the 20-day, yay. But there is the 50-day. Still got to get above there. And then if we look at the semiconductors, SMH, they were up over 2%. They closed above their 50-day. So you might think, wow, that's what we've been watching, right? That 50-day. It's not just that it's the 50-day in orange. We did close above that today in the semis, but you also want to make sure you clear the box. There's two things, the 50-day and the recent highs. Now, if I take the S&P, if we go back there and I zoom in, let me get rid of our box. The 50-day coincides with the top of the box. That's why it's not just the 50-day that's so important. It is important, but also clearing the previous overhead resistance. If I go to the Dow, same thing. We clear the 50-day, we're also going to clear this resistance. The 50-day is too close to these previous highs. If I go to the Qs again, the 50-day coincides with previous highs. So that's creating that confluence. So if I bring back in SMH, yes, we did clear the 50-day today, but we still got to clear the previous highs of 115. We do that, target right back up there towards 122.50. And since we have 1 day and then the market's going to be closed for 3 days, I want to review just some of the bigger items on the agenda. So we looked at the major ETFs, index ETFs. Let's look at bonds, TLT as well. They lost about 1/3% today, but they're still above the red line. And then if the red line falls, we go to the orange, which acted as support here. And then August, it just went bonkers. So the bonds are still bullish. If we look at gold, GLD, yeah, it was down almost 0.75%, but it's still above the red line. and it's still above the orange line. Until these fall, bulls keep getting the edge. We look at silver, lost just over 0.5% today. That is bearish engulfing, and there was a lot of volume. So you could say, wow, pick up in volume, check. Bearish engulfing, check. It would have been great if we finished at the lows of the day. That would have even been a little more ominous for the bulls. But one day does not a candle pattern make, in terms of believability or strength, if you will. If we get a down close tomorrow, that would help validate that as bearish engulfing. But the immediate target would be the red line, the 20-day EMA, and then we get below there. That's when you would say, okay, the bulls are definitely losing their hold on the market or on the stock, and then you would target the 50-day. And then I just want to do BBY versus BBBY. So we have the B's, Bed Bath & Beyond and Best Buy. Best Buy was down almost 8% today. It did barely clip the previous low, but it's hanging in here around 62.50. Otherwise, you go down to a gap fill at 60. I saw both these stocks are moving, and then Bed Bath & Beyond up 11%, right? Huge. But if you haven't been following Bed Bath & Beyond, this stock was, my goodness, in April around 17, 18 bucks. Now it's at 9, even after the big double-digit move. If I zoom in here, look what happened once we got below the red line. Amazing, right? We got above it here, came back down, and now we're getting back above. Today, the volume picked up. This is a big deal. If it clears the 50-day, there really isn't a whole lot of pausing or shelf support, or what would have been shelf support previously. There's a little bit of a pause here, right around 11, but pretty much all the way back up here towards 16. Not saying it's going to get there as usual, but if we get above that 50-day, this is definitely a trend change occurring. Now, I had a question about MasterCard versus Visa versus American Express. We'll finish up here. Here is, not MC, but MA. Here's MasterCard. Excluding June 3rd and pretty much excluding August 5th, the stock has pretty much remained above the orange line, that institutional moving average. Ever since February came around, that earnings report, it's been off to the races. A pretty solid hold if you're just hanging on to it. Might have gotten shaken out once or twice, but pretty straight line. It's still above the 50-day. It's not quite out to new highs, but if it were to clear, what is that, 285 on a closing basis, it breaks out to new all-time highs. What I would watch for in MasterCard, since the 50-day it hasn't been really that helpful on those two occasions, even one right here, I would just watch the most recent swing low. If I was long MasterCard, what I would worry about is a close below the 814 closing price, and then a close below 8.5. If that happens, that to me is even more important than the 50-day. If I look at Visa, similar situation. Again, June 3rd, it didn't work. August 5th, it didn't work. Then we got below it here, the 14th of August, and just 5 days ago. So what does this mean if the 50-day isn't working? Well, the key here is nothing's going to work all the time. Sometimes it's amazing, like the 20-day EMA on Bed Bath & Beyond. When it was below it, it stayed below it, right? Got near it, and it kept falling over. So this time, I don't know if they're trying to purposely shake people out, because it's really just one day on a down close, and they rip it right back up. One day on a down close, and they just bring it right back up. One day, and they bring it up. It seems to be used as a buying opportunity. On stocks like this, I would just go back to swing lows. Let's go back to 823, 6 days ago, and then go back to 814. We closed below previous lows. That's what would tell me, hey, it looks like the bulls are losing control. Because as it stands right now, it's just consolidating. Is there a pennant? And there might be pennants on stocks you guys are following too right now. We could do something like this. Something like this. We could even throw around a rising bearish wedge. I don't want to go that far yet. The markets are still hanging in there. But this is still sort of a pennant. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you go to American Express, while Visa and MasterCard are still lower left, upper right, that is not the case for Amex. The 50-day held here on June 3rd, where it failed on MasterCard and Visa. We got below it August 5th. Then it tried to get back above, and it never really regained it, and it went back down. This is definitely a trend to change, and a trend change of trend. What also is helpful too is when you have the 20-day EMA crossing down through the 50-day SMA. That in itself is a mini sell signal, just like it would have been a mini buy signal over here. it's a mini sell here. And then sometimes if you go back, and this is a 1-year daily chart, little sell, little buy, might have gotten whipsawed, the sell worked, and the buy worked, right? There were definitely some bigger trends there. So now we have one here again. I would not want to be short-term bullish on American Express because that is not what this daily chart is showing us. If I were to use a 2-year weekly on American Express, you've lost the red line. That's one of the key metrics short term. And then if the orange line, which is a 50 period, falls, you can't even be bearish in the weeklies. So right now the weeklies on Amex starting to get a little bearish, but we're still above the 50-day. So I hope that's helpful for those questions on, what do trend changes look like, and then comparing 3 companies in a similar business. So that's it. Wish you guys a fantastic Friday ahead, and then we'll have a 3-day weekend. So the next video will probably come out either on Sunday or Monday. So have a great holiday weekend, everybody. Wish you guys all the best.